Eagle, Archangel, we have been engaged.
Roger.
Laser 1-1.
You want quantity 2?
Put out decoys, Blair.
Copy. Hang on.
The F-A-18 Hornet and Super Hornet, two of the most capable fighters in U.S. naval history. The F-A-18 entered service in 1983 with the United States Marine Corps, followed by the United States Navy. 1,480 Hornets have been built, and over 630 of the larger, more advanced Super Hornets, which are still being manufactured today. Both aircraft versions have been popular worldwide and remain in active service, though they continue to be replaced by the F-35. The Hornet and Super Hornet have seen action in most modern combat zones, having first dropped bombs in Libya in 1986. They then participated in the 1991 Gulf War, 2003 Iraq War, and throughout the Afghanistan War. The aircraft has gained further fame with the Blue Angels, the U.S. Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron. The Blue Angels first flew the Hornet in 1986, before switching to the Super Hornet in 2020. To fly with the Blue Angels, pilots must have 1,250 flight hours and an aircraft carrier certification. Some pilots who flew scenes for Top Gun Maverick were former Blue Angels. The F-18 has been a popular movie aircraft since the early 1990s. The United States Navy has recognized that leasing Hornets to movie studios can be an effective recruiting tool. That said, studios still have to pay upwards of $10,000 an hour for these aircraft and their crews to be part of any production. Naturally, most studios opt for CGI and models, particularly when fighting hazardous aliens or Godzilla. Adding to unrealistic movie danger is how close pilots fly to each other and to target. Even many Sidewinder missiles can hit a target over 10 miles away. The Hornets in the ROC are portrayed as Air Force Hornets, but the U.S. Air Force has never flown the Hornet, just the Navy and Marines. Though NASA operates a handful of Hornets for research purposes and for use as chase aircraft. Shown here is the F-18 HARV, High Alpha Research Vehicle, used for investigating controlled flight at high alpha or angle of attack. Other air forces like the Royal Canadian Air Force and Royal Australian Air Force run the aircraft from land bases only. In the film Independence Day, the Hornet is shown as having a drag chute. Navy and Marine F-18s don't use drag chutes as they are designed to land on aircraft carriers, assisted by arresting wires to absorb energy and stop the plane. Hornets have a reasonable approach speed of around 130 knots, requiring less than 4,000 feet of runway to land, so they wouldn't require a drag chute to land ashore on most runways. Though the Hornet started flying with the Navy in 1984, it was not part of the original Top Gun movie from 1986. Hornets were still being introduced to the Navy and were state-of-the-art, off-limits to Hollywood. Furthermore, F-14s, first deployed with the Navy in 1974, were still considered excellent air superiority and multi-role fighters, and wouldn't be retired until 2006. The Hornet would complement the F-14 aboard carriers, before the Super Hornet began replacing it in 1999. The Hornet on introduction to the Navy and Marines was an excellent aircraft from all perspectives. Firstly, it had a reasonable cost per unit, and required far less maintenance and downtime than its heavier counterparts, like the F-14 Tomcat and A-6 Intruder. On average, the Hornet required half the maintenance compared to other Navy strike aircraft. The Hornet was designed to be rugged, and it performed well under the stresses of carrier takeoffs and landings. The aircraft was further built for easy servicing. The F-404 engine connects to the airframe at only 10 points, easily replaced by a 4-man team in 20 minutes with limited equipment. Engine air inlets on the Hornet are a simple fixed design, unlike those on the F-14 and F-15, which have variable geometry or variable intake ramp air inlets. A Hornet has about 50% less parts overall than an F-14. The F-404 engines of the Hornet were exceptional in their reliability and highly resistant to stall and flameout. The twin-engine design naturally improved safety should one engine fail, The F-18 developed a reputation for excellent safety, beginning a new era of fighter aircraft, with safety as a top priority. The Hornet's design, besides being reliable, is excellent in many other ways. It's highly maneuverable with a good thrust-to-weight ratio, and is capable of impressive high angles of attack. The aircraft was so maneuverable at high speeds that the G-forces were of great risk to the pilots. As a result, a sophisticated fully digital fly-by-wire system with quadruple redundancies was developed to prevent the aircraft from being ripped apart. The aircraft further has an adaptive auto-leveling autopilot feature that could recover the plane from a spin should the pilot be knocked out from the extreme G-force. The F-A-18C and D have a maximum speed of Mach 1.8. Range is 1,253 miles, or 2,017 kilometers. Service ceiling is 50,000 feet, and its rate of climb is 250 meters a second. Armament includes one 20mm nose-mounted 6-barrel rotary cannon with 578 rounds. The Legacy Hornet has 9 hardpoints, 2 missile launch rails on the wingtips, 4 under wing, and 3 under the fuselage. Total carrying capacity is 13,700 pounds, or 6,200 kilograms, which can be ordnance or external fuel. The F-A-18 can carry a variety of ordnance, as the aircraft is expected to carry out multiple roles. The F-A-18 can carry up to 12 air-to-air missiles, or larger anti-ship missiles like the Harpoon. External pods can carry electronic countermeasures or infrared decoys and chaff. A nuclear payload is also possible. The Hornet was one of the best multi-role aircraft of its day, and is still a relevant platform. It was one of the first aircraft to use multifunctional displays. A switch of a button allows the pilot to quickly reconfigure the aircraft for attack or fighter roles. The aircraft was built in both dual-seat and single-seat variants. The single-seat fighters are more suitable for air-to-air combat, with the dual-seat aircraft better at complex strike missions. The Super Hornet first flew in 1995, with full-rated production starting in 1997 after the merger of McDonnell Douglas and Boeing. The Super Hornet entered fleet service with the U.S. Navy in 1999, where it would serve alongside the original Hornet and began replacing the F-14 Tomcat. The Super Hornet was considered a safe, reliable, and cost-effective replacement for the F-14 Tomcat, an A-6 intruder. The Super Hornet was an improvement over the Legacy Hornet in almost every way, leaving many to consider it an entirely different aircraft. The Super Hornet has more thrust and lift, is about 20% larger, and has about 60% greater endurance. Redesigned engine intakes allow more airflow and a lower radar cross-section. Instrument panels were modernized, with the newest Super Hornets sharing a single monolithic touchscreen, similar to the F-35. The Super Hornet goes by several names, including the Superbug or Rhino. A specialized variant of the Super Hornet, the EA-18G Growler, was designed to replace the EA-6B Prowler electronic countermeasures aircraft. Additional roles the Super Hornet can perform include air-to-air refueling using an external refueling system. This is a Super Hornet refueling another Super Hornet. The Super Hornet is capable of carrying a larger payload, upwards of 17,750 pounds of ordnance, or 8,050 kilograms. It has a combat radius of 390 nautical miles when carrying a typical air-to-ground loadout. The Super Hornet further has strengthened wings, increasing its bringback load. That's the ability not to waste unused munitions and fuel by dumping them into the ocean in order to land on a carrier. Behind Enemy Lines from 2001 was the first movie to feature the Super Hornet, and it was filmed aboard the USS Carl Vinson. The missile chase scene is fantastic, but not realistic. Short-range infrared-guided missiles usually don't end up in chase scenarios lasting minutes, and if flares are unsuccessful, the missiles will strike, or proximity detonate next to the plane. Top Gun, of course, went to the next level with the Super Hornet. The studio provided truncated but authentic fighter pilot training to the cast, who had to shoot their own cockpit scenes. For filming, the actors are strapped into dual-seat Super Hornets, with the real Super Hornet pilots doing the flying, giving the illusion the actors are piloting single-seaters.
Come on, give me tone, give me tone, give me tone. Step out of it, Coyote. Come on, come on.
Alright, I'm Johnny. Thank you for watching this video on the Hornet, an excellent aircraft in many ways, and one Hornet that is definitely no wannabe. Anyway, do take care, and have a nice rest of your day.